Here we go!
Bruh, the Sonic movie sequel is gonna be amazing. A practical love letter to all things Sonic. For that matter, everything else that we're gonna get next year regarding Sonic is gonna be incredible. I'll even go a step further and say that whatever games we're getting, which we don't know about, aside from the possibility, I stress the word possibility very strongly, of a Sonic Colors remaster, we don't know what we're getting in the way of the games yet, but if it's anything like what happened during the 25th anniversary, they're gonna be great as well. I can feel it in my gut. I can just feel it. I've had a lot to take in over the last few months ever since the year kicked off, and I now have an opportunity to put some of these thoughts down in this video. So here we go. What's up, everybody? This is GamerBlake90, your proud chief of the Blue Blurs, presenting you with something that I haven't done in a while, probably because it's not one of my strongest points, and that is a Sonic discussion video. I've been turning the script over and over in my head trying to figure out how best to approach this video, and eventually I was like, you know what? The best way to go about it sometimes is to just dive right into it, see what comes of it, and then go from there. So without any further ado, let's just get right to it. Right now, Sonic is enjoying his success as a multimedia icon. He's got the IDW comics, of which I had the first 9 issues by the way. I'm working on getting the rest so I can do some much needed catching up. That is long overdue. He's got tons of merchandise coming out as we speak. He's got a Netflix series coming next year, which is called Sonic Prime if you didn't know. Made a couple videos about it if it would interest you to check them out. And finally, there's the fact that he just enjoyed his first successful live-action adaptation last year. I believe a budget of around $81 million went into its production, and by the time the dust settled, Paramount saw a return of well over 3 times that amount. In fact, I think the final figures rested squarely within the $300 million benchmark, probably even higher than that to be quite honest. And as a Sonic fan, I cannot begin to describe to you how much it elated me to see the movie attract this much success, especially because when I first went to see it, I was highly apprehensive, but I'll get into why that is in a little bit. With the success of the movie, it all but guaranteed a sequel, which I'm really relieved about because when the post-credits cutscene, it would have been very disheartening not to see that part of the storyline resolved at the very least. But we are getting a sequel, so the story is set to continue. Now before I actually do touch upon the sequel, I want to first take a step back to the original movie and talk about how I first felt going to see it, and then my thoughts on how I felt about it afterward. So Valentine's Day rolled around last year, and I got decked out in all my Sonic gear, ready to go and see the movie. That gear included a Sonic t-shirt, a Sonic hoodie, a Sonic bead sprite that I wore around my neck, a Sonic hat, Sonic socks, Sonic shoes, and even a Sonic keychain. The list goes on and on. Like, come on, man. You're probably going like, oh my god, this guy is a nerd. But hey, I was an excited Sonic fan about to go and see a movie about his favorite character. It was only appropriate, right? But while I was excited to see the Sonic movie, I was also quite, dare I say it, anxious about it. Because the whole fiasco of Sonic's redesign aside, movie adaptations of video games tend to attract quite a lot of scrutiny, even though they've been on the rise recently. We just had the Mortal Kombat movie come out over the weekend, and we still have the Sonic movie sequel ahead of us. Anybody who's grown up being a gamer ought to be familiar with the mentality that video games are considered a waste of time, which, guess what? They aren't. Today they are the most successful industry, much more so than the music and movie industries combined, and it's only going to keep growing. So frankly, it comes as no surprise that the movie industry has embraced the concept of adapting video games into movies. And as a gamer myself, I'm quite happy to see that because we get to enjoy our favorite form of media in a way other than just games. But at the same time, a lot of concerns tend to revolve around its execution. Often, film adaptations of games will go in their own direction in an effort to appeal to a new audience, not just the gamers themselves. And while this is understandable, this is also the most critical component of the movie, and if mis-executed in any way, it tends to produce poor results. Knowing all of this, I was quite worried about how well the Sonic movie would perform, especially because, for the most part, it didn't really take place in Sonic's world. Sure, it started out in Green Hill Zone, where Sonic meets with his guardian Longclaw shortly before they are ambushed by the Echidna tribe, but other than that, the rest of the film takes place in essentially our world, the human world. So naturally, many were quite unsure about how well the storyline of Sonic would resonate through this movie, but if you ask me, they had nothing to fear. So yeah, I went into the theater as a skeptic, and came out a believer, an elated believer at that. I had so many fears about how the movie would turn out, but it not only met my expectations, it surpassed them. And what with the possibility, as it was a possibility at the time, that we were getting a sequel as well? What was there to not be happy about, honestly? It was a good day that year. Now, the movie largely took place in a world other than Sonic's, specifically Earth, where he had to find refuge after his escape from Green Hill. But in spite of that, the director saw fit to include a truckload of Easter eggs that a Sonic fan's well-trained eye would be able to pick up on when they first saw it. For example, if you look at the map that Sonic carries on his person whenever he has to travel between dimensions using the portal rings, you see a series of icons that don't necessarily correlate to worlds he can travel to, but are nonetheless hugely relevant to his history as a franchise. For example, the Sega Saturn icon. Didn't catch it the first time? Go back and watch the movie and look at the map when Sonic pulls it up the next time he's at his home cave. It'll all become clear then. Fans will also split over the movie's interpretation of Sonic's character, which featured a more vulnerable side to Sonic, something that we aren't typically privy to in the games. But again, this movie was our first step into Sonic's cinematic universe, and nobody starts out as a cocky blue hedgehog capable of beating down robots and saving the day. Everybody has to grow into who they are now, and Sonic is no different, so seeing that side of his character was a new experience to me, but it was one that I welcomed as well. I very much enjoyed watching him become the character that we know him as today, and it made the final battle with Robotnik all the more satisfying. And now with the sequel around the corner, I'm very curious how much further his character development will go along, especially now that Tails will be by his side in the sequel. Then we've got Eggman. I gotta say, when Jim Carrey first came onto the screen as Eggman, I was quite skeptical, because though the menacing tone was obviously there, his take on Eggman seemed a bit more mild than I was expecting. But as the movie went on, he gradually evolved into the deranged scientist that we'd always known Eggman to be from the games. By the end of the movie, I was a complete believer. Though I don't know why I had reservations to begin with, because Jim Carrey built his career around portraying characters like the Grinch and doing it really well. So the role of Eggman was in good hands when Jim Carrey got involved. As well, in the final scene of the movie, he is dressed in an outfit that much better resembles Eggman, with the handlebar mustache and all. And apparently that look is carrying over into the sequel, so oh goody! I cannot wait to see what happens from there. And of course, we can't forget Tom and Maddie, who are portrayed by James Marsden and Tika Sumpter respectively, and they will be reprising their roles in the sequel if you didn't already know. Now that Sonic is living at their residence after the events of the movie, I'm getting kind of a Sonic X vibe here. And you know what? I welcome this, because I very much loved Sonic X while I watched it. Save for a couple elements about it, which I'm not going to name specifically, but I'll leave it to you to figure out which ones those are. All in all, they made for excellent additions to the Sonic cinematic universe, and I think I'll grow to like these characters more as we get into the sequel. So yeah. Though the Sonic movie did take some getting used to in some respects, I was very pleased with the end result, more than pleased in fact, and I felt that the sequel was in good hands with Paramount. And that brings us to today. If you didn't know, filming of the Sonic movie sequel began back in March and is taking place over in Vancouver. According to Tika Sumpter, filming will also take place in Hawaii as well, but to our knowledge, nothing has happened there yet, but it is still a key point in something I'm going to bring up later in this video. As you might have guessed, bystanders who have taken notes of the filming process began sending in images and videos of what they've seen, as they've been flooding social media. These images have been forthcoming since March, but it was the latest batch we received in mid-April that caught our attention the most, sparking a firestorm of speculation, with a very positive tone in fact. These clips have given us a lot of insight into what is coming our way for the Sonic movie sequel, and we're gonna talk about those right now. First off, sources indicated near the end of last year that Knuckles the Echidna would be featured in the Sonic movie sequel, and he would have a role much greater than that of a cameo, although his voice actor had yet to be named at that time. Shortly after, Tika Sumpter confirmed via an episode of Live with Kelly and Ryan that the movie would be shot across 2 locations, Vancouver and Hawaii, a chain of islands. So when you consider this, as well as the fact that the Echidna tribe made an appearance at the very beginning of the Sonic movie, it seemed like the sign for Knuckles' inclusion were all but there, and sure enough, when the latest batch of images about the filming process in Vancouver rolled in, we got our first-hand look at who we'll call the 3 musketeers of the movie sequel: Tails, Sonic, and the redhead himself, Knuckles the Echidna. This has been a hot topic of discussion recently, and if you don't mind my saying so, he looks super clean, man. He looks super clean. If a little bigger than I was expecting him to look, kind of like Boom Knuckles, only his size isn't nearly so exaggerated, especially with his arms, so that was a relief to see. And the only thing that's missing from him is the white crescent shape you typically see across his chest. So if you look closely how the lighting reflects off his body, you can kind of see it there still. I don't know if they forgot to put it onto the mannequin when they began filming, or if they're gonna animate it into the movie later on, because they are animated characters, so they have to be shot as mannequins first, before they can be fully animated, so just explaining that for you real quick. But yeah, I'm very satisfied with Knuckles' design, and I'm not sweating about the Tails design either. Pretty sure they're going to be carrying over his appearance from the post-credits scene at the very end of the first Sonic movie. And that design looked clean as well, so I'm not concerned about it in the slightest. Oh, by the way, all 3 characters can spin dash in the sequel. We haven't seen the spin dash being a shared ability across the Sonic cast since the days of the Sega Genesis, though it did make a brief return in Sonic Mania, and it's back in the movie sequel. Now all that's missing is the Team Blast from Sonic Heroes. Come on, y'all know you want to see it. Now some have said that the timing for Knuckles showing up in Sonic's cinematic universe isn't quite correct, because in the games, he wouldn't show up until Sonic 3. But first of all, these are the Sonic movies. They can't completely equal the games in terms of being chronological. Remember, they're trying to appeal to both Sonic fans and non-Sonic fans. These are supposed to be movies for everybody to enjoy, not just Sonic fans. And secondly, Sonic 2 can be locked onto the Sonic and Knuckles lock-on cartridge for the Sega Genesis so that you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 2. So when you consider that, Knuckles being in the sequel isn't too far out there, is it? Granted, he did show up a little earlier than even I was anticipating, but I welcome his addition all the same. So now that Knuckles is a factor, this raised a lot of questions that fans are dying to ask, no doubt. Is Knuckles aware at all of the attack on Sonic and Longclaw at the beginning of the first Sonic movie by the Echidna tribe? If he is aware of it, how does he feel about it? If he's not aware of it, then how does he feel about Sonic and Tails in general? Better yet, how does he arrive to Earth? Cause I don't think Angel Island exists in the same dimension that Earth does. But when you think about it, Tails used a portal ring to find Sonic while tracking him to Earth. So I guess Knuckles will arrive to Earth by the same fashion as well, now that I think about it. I don't see any reason that the portal rings will be restricted specifically for Sonic's use. Furthermore, from the photos that have recently leaked, we see that Knuckles is at Green Hills, not at Angel Island, where the Master Emerald undoubtedly resides. Anybody familiar with the Sonic lore knows that Knuckles would never leave the Emerald side if he could help it. Well, except in a good number of Sonic games that have come up from the late 2000s to the early 2010s for some odd reason. Anyway, this leads me to believe that one of 3 events could have taken place, so here's my predictions. The first is, Knuckles was thrown into Earth entirely against his will. Probably knocked through a portal ring somehow is my guess. The second is, Eggman stole the Master Emerald from Angel Island, thereby enacting the events of Sonic 3, more or less, and Knuckles is forced to chase after Eggman so as to get the Emerald back, so he travels to Earth. The third possibility is, Paramount may have more or less done what Sega did with Knuckles and retconned the character entirely, so that the Master Emerald storyline is completely irrelevant. I'm praying really hard that that's not the case because I feel that would take away such an important part of Knuckles' backstory. it was always shameful to see it gone. At least the IDW Comics had the courtesy of restoring Knuckles to his role as the Guardian of the Master Emerald. Bless them. Another reason I'm so hopeful that the Master Emerald will be involved is because if it is, then that must mean the Chaos Emeralds will make an appearance as well. And if they do, well, if you're a Sonic fan like me, you can probably do the math. We could be getting Super Sonic! Oh my god, it is long overdue. I think all of us have imagined how Super Sonic would look if he were to be featured in the first Sonic movie, which sadly he wasn't because the directors backed off on including him in favor of creating an origin story for the rivalry between Sonic and Robotnik. Plus, just like in the original Sonic 1 from the Sega Genesis, Super Sonic wasn't featured there either. So you know, it all kinda lines up. Anyway, if Sonic gets his super form, I hope that Super Tails and Super Knuckles will be a thing as well, and if they are, give them their actual super forms if you please, and not just globes of golden energy surrounding their bodies just like in Sonic Heroes. Come on, y'all know what you want to go all out, especially with how much success the first Sonic movie drew in. This is your moment to shine. Team Super Sonic? Yo, the imagination is going wild right now. This is opening a lot of doors for things to happen, and I'm really hoping Paramount walks through, if not all of them, then most of them at least. I mentioned a bit ago how Eggman might have snatched the Master Emerald off Angel Island, and at that point you may have been asking yourself, is that even possible? Because if we go back to the ending of the first Sonic movie, we see Eggman trapped in a mushroom world after he got his butt handed to him by Sonic. But at the same time, while he was trapped in the mushroom world, he still had the quill from Sonic, and remnants of Sonic's energy was still imbued in the quill. So I'd be willing to take a shot here and say that Eggman perfected some sort of technology utilizing the quill, much like how he did over San Francisco to empower the abilities of his machine so that he could go just as fast as Sonic. It's how he's able to keep up with him. So I'd be willing to bet that he utilized that same technology to get out of the mushroom world. It's either that or he got lucky enough to come across a portal ring that allows him to jump between dimensions as well. But the theory involving Sonic's quill is more plausible. Anyway, we see that Eggman has escaped the mushroom world because the recent photos happen to involve him being present at Green Hills causing all sorts of havoc. But while we're talking about Eggman, anyone here want to tell me what happened to Agent Stone? It's not often that I take notice of Eggman's henchmen because they're generally forgettable, but I felt Agent Stone as a character was crafted really well for the role, believe it or not, even if he did play a minimal role in the first movie. So what the heck happened to him? Was he faithfully holding out hope that Eggman would escape from the mushroom world, or did he move on to other endeavors entirely? Guess we won't know until next year, huh? At this point, I think I'm raising way more questions than I'm answering them, but come on, man. With all the information that's come out, this was inevitable. From the way the Sonic movie sequel is being set up, we could be taking a deeper dive into the world of Sonic. It's shaping up to be a love letter to Sonic, and I don't mean just like with Sonic Mania, as that mainly concerned the Genesis era for Sonic. I mean overall. You thought you had more than enough Sonic references in the first movie? Well, guess what? More are incoming. Anyone else here remember G.U.N from Sonic Adventure 2? A division of the military that mistook Shadow for Sonic and tried to capture him after his perceived injustice of robbing a Chaos Emerald at a bank in Station Square. Well, guess what, guys? They are back in full force. And just like before, they are boasting an insignia that very much resembles the nature of their organization, but with some subtle changes that have been made to it. You'll notice these changes if you take a closer look at the logo and then compare it to how it originally looked in Adventure 2. Honestly, I'm not really sure if their return brings good tidings or bad tidings, because a lot of us here distinctly remember that they couldn't tell a black hedgehog apart from a blue hedgehog. And we all saw how well that went, am I right? But seriously, I was super stoked to see that G.U.N will be making an appearance in the sequel, as this is a full-on reference to Sonic Adventure 2. And if you know me, you know I love my Sonic Adventure games, so you can bet my jaw hit the floor so hard that it created a hole when I first saw that photo. Fun fact here, but if you look at the side of the gun chopper at Green Hills, you see the initials SA2. This could mean one of two things. It could mean Sonic Adventure 2, or it could mean Sigma Alpha 2, the code name of the chopper where Sonic is held prisoner as the events of Sonic Adventure 2 unfold in the skyline above Station Square. And while we're talking about that cutscene, I am going to make a request to Paramount right now. If I do not see Sonic jumping out of that chopper and sliding along the road on a piece of a chopper that is passing for a makeshift snowboard, I will be deeply disappointed. I don't know how much money I'd be willing to put on the possibility of it happening, but it better happen. That's all I'm gonna say. But let's not take the snowboarding idea off the table just yet. At the moment, the film is being shot at both a cityscape and Grouse Mountain, which is a snow-capped mountain. Yes, this is giving me a lot of Ice Cap Zone vibes, baby. And as someone whose favorite stage in Sonic 3 is the Ice Cap Zone, I'm really looking forward to how this scene plays out. Or, wait a minute, it could actually be the Ice Cap stage in Sonic Adventure. Whoops. Two stages with the same name but from different games? How the heck does that happen? Assuming everything I said earlier about Knuckles and Angel Island is correct, so far we're looking at two Sonic 3 stages that will be heavily referenced in the sequel. Angel Island and Ice Cap. You can probably guess what I'm thinking, but I would have expected to see more references to Sonic 2 stages. Of course, that's only like a handful of photos. They don't illustrate the entirety of the movie like that. There's way more that we haven't seen yet, so the possibilities remain numerous. I remember how taken aback I was after catching a glimpse of the Green Hill Zone in the first Sonic movie, and how beautiful it looked. That screams a lot of artistic potential, so I really hope we're going to be seeing a lot more Sonic stages being referenced in the sequel, whether it's the Green Hill Zone or other environments entirely, like the substitute for the Ice Cap Zone, which is Grouse Mountain. Or it could be White Acropolis in Sonic Go 6, which once housed a hideout for Eggman, but I find it highly unlikely. Finally, let's take a moment to revisit one of the photos featuring a gun tank at Green Hills. As you can see in the building right next to it, the words Mean Bean can be seen clearly above the door. This is a definite callback to Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean machine, which was in turn based on a game called Puyo Puyo. Hey, I'll take one blue bean latte if you please, thank you. Yo, how would anyone else feel if they actually made that a restaurant? I would totally visit it, like, just about every day if I could. I don't know what they'd have on the menu, though. That's something that I'd have to put a lot of thought into, but yeah, I was so happy that they put that in there somehow. Maybe they'll actually put in arcade machines where you play Puyo Puyo to take it a step further. Please make that happen, Paramount! You know what I just realized? We've gone so far into this video, and I somehow managed to avoid mentioning the voice of Sonic up until now. Ben Schwartz. This is quite a travesty, so let me make up for that right now. The first Sonic movie was my first opportunity to see a character portrayed by Ben Schwartz. By the end of the film, I was completely sold on his performance. I feel that Ben managed to capture the character's keynote traits while integrating them seamlessly into the movie's interpretation of Sonic, which featured a more vulnerable side of the Blue Hedgehog. Some would have had a hard time digesting that portrayal of his character, but Ben managed to sell it so well that I was a fan. What more can I say? I think that Ben will be one of the more long-standing voice actors for Sonic. He's definitely earned that honor. And heck, if Sega is considering it, he could totally fill in for Roger Craig Smith now that he is no longer voicing Sonic in the games. However, I talked about this in another video already, but I don't think that decision is going to be made so easily from Sega's perspective. After all, it's one thing to voice a character in the movies, it's another to voice that character for video games. Besides, we're talking about the movie right now, so that's another discussion entirely. But if you want to know my thoughts on it, feel free to check out the video I made where I talk about Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic and the possibility of Jason Momoa voicing Knuckles. That was a story that came up a couple months ago if you were wondering, and so far there's been no confirmation on that. But who will be voicing Tails or Knuckles in the sequel, you might be asking? I've no answers to give you about that because I don't know any better myself. We know that Colleen O'Shaughnessy voiced Tails at the very end of the first movie, but for a very brief cameo. And she doesn't yet know if she'll be called back to reprise her role in the sequel. As for Knuckles, well, aside from the rumor about Jason Momoa voicing him, no names have been dropped. to be quite honest, other than say Dan Green from the Sonic X era, I can't imagine anybody else voicing Knuckles, but we'll see how that goes. Whew! Huh. Okay, I think that's everything. I think. It's been a lot for me to take in, but the end result is that I am deeply excited for the Sonic movie sequel. I think it's going to be a love letter to all things Sonic, as I said earlier. I think that the first Sonic movie did a great job in capturing the essence of what made Sonic, Sonic, and it did great in introducing new fans to his world, not an intentional Sonic 06 reference by the way. But I think the Sonic movie sequel is going to take that success a step further. People are going to get to learn more about the characters from Sonic's universe for one, including Tails and Knuckles, and as the conflict between Sonic and Eggman continues to escalate, I'm constantly wondering about the many storylines that we could see unfold in Sonic's cinematic universe. Some of which may be based on the games, and others may be entirely Paramount's own creation. Whichever it is, it's promising to be a blast. Furthermore, Sonic is about to celebrate the Big 3-0 later this June. For him to still be relevant 30 years after his introduction is a huge relief to me, because I had concerns before that that wouldn't be the case, largely because of the many low points that Sonic had been faced with, especially in the last decade. But recently, he's been enjoying nothing but success, which I'm super happy about, and if the next Sonic game to come out, whatever it may be, turns out to be up to the task, I think the Sonic movie sequel could serve as an excellent opportunity to introduce more people to Sonic's games. I'm sure the first Sonic movie did a great job of that, but I think the sequel could stand a better chance of pulling that off, because again, it'll be steeped in Sonic references. And if the newcomers find that the games are not their cup of tea, well, that's perfectly fine. There'll be something about Sonic for everyone to enjoy, whether it be the movies, the comics, the Sonic Prime Netflix series coming next year, the merchandise, and so on. There'll be something for everyone to enjoy. So, a huge win-win scenario. Still though, I'm really praying that the success of the movie sequel translates into success for the games, because let's face it, Sonic really needs it. And that is the end of this video. I think it ended up turning more into a review for the first Sonic movie and of all the information that turned up about the sequel, rather than just me talking about why I'm excited for the sequel, but I think I got my point across nonetheless. So, what do y'all think? You excited for Sonic movie sequel like I am? Show me how excited you are by dropping your comments down below the video, and if you did enjoy the video, consider leaving a like, as it really helps your boy out. And if you happen to enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog, I make a lot of content about the Blue Boy, so consider hitting the subscribe button and ringing that bell so y'all don't miss anything. And on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Until then, peace. Blue blurs for life. Take care.